Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, Chris. Good to see you.
Great to see you. So
Thank you.
You have some wonderful reading for us.
Well, I hope you'll think it's wonderful. And again, it's from this book here, by Paul Farini, Everyday Wisdom. And today, March 30th, the message is entitled Love's Patient Blessing. Wherever you go, the love of God goes with you. It moves with your legs, reaches with your hands, speaks with your voice, and sees with your eyes. Because of you, love goes forth into the world. Without you, it would be invisible. The love that expresses through you is the holy presence, the human vehicle ablaze with the divine light, the very embodiment of God's love. You hear the call, and you answer it by following the simple teaching. Quote, whatever is not loving must be forgiven, and whatever is forgiven becomes love's patient blessing in an imperfect world. It's a good one.
Oh,
it's got the full message there, doesn't it?
Yeah. Can you read the last line, or did you close the book already?
No, it's fine. I put a bookmark in it. You hear the call, and you answer it by following this simple teaching. Whatever is not loving must be forgiven, and what is forgiven becomes love's patient blessing in an imperfect world.
So it sounds like there's some alchemy in the process of the forgiveness.
Absolutely. Good word for it. Alchemy. Yeah. Have you ever seen in the news or at some time in your life the stories of parents forgiving the murderer of their child? Have you ever seen that? I've seen it a couple of times. It happens with people who recognize someone who kills 9 times out of 10 has had their spirit, can't kill the spirit, but certainly have had their spirit so damaged that they're no longer in touch with, what's right, what's wrong, love, whatever. I mean, I've seen it, I've seen these parents go over and put their arms around the murderer of their child.
There was a gentleman in my old church. His name was Dick, and Dick Nethercutt, and his daughter was murdered, and he, I think, sort of accidentally found out where he was in jail, and somehow, maybe he was a volunteer there, and came face to face with this guy, and the relationship developed, and he forgave the guy for the murder. And it's just it was an unbelievable story, and just a very, very impactful thing to think about. And fortunately, since I've done some prison volunteer work, I've had the opportunity, and it really was an opportunity. The whole thing was an opportunity to hear the pain and of the stories, and most of the time these guys weren't looking for sympathy. They were just like little hints would come out when they talked about their childhood or whatever it was just horrible, and more horrible. If you saw what these guys have gone through, I think any normal person would have tremendous empathy. But since they're in prison, and since they did bad things, they're cast-offs of society. They're not worth anything.
This
Oh
kind of
boy.
to the other thing that we spoke about earlier when we were on tape here, is the forgiveness aspect of life, particularly when one thinks of if they have guilt, that's almost always knocking at the door, and they reflect back about one thing or another that they've done that wasn't what they wished they had done. Then you tell that story about the fellow, forgiving someone who killed his child, and you think about piling all the things on top of one another that you've done in your life that you wish you hadn't done and you feel bad about. It probably couldn't even come 100 feet away from that particular situation, whatever. So it's just a good reference point to recognize that the human heart can and will and does forgive on levels that we won't even give ourselves. These other, I'm speaking for myself. I know there's things that that rattle around in me that I say, I wish that didn't happen. And it's years and years and years and years and years ago. But when I want to, or not want to, but when I fall into a drifting ego-centered place, that's part of what happens when you go there. Maybe you get a lot of things done too when ego's lit up. I don't know. Maybe not. But yeah, just comparing those two.
Mine goes maybe, well, it goes as far back as 5th or 6th grade for me, and maybe longer, but the one that came to mind was there was a guy named Jim in my elementary school, and he had cooties. Did you have
what?
Cooties?
Oh, cooties, yeah. We had a little skipping in the video just now.
Oh, okay. So I had this kid named Jim in my 5th or 6th grade class, and he had cooties, and cooties were, yeah. How would you explain cooties?
Probably lice.
Oh, okay. So that's more literal than I was thinking, but he was the outcast, and you didn't even want to be.
Oh yeah, we used to say that. It used to be one of the things we'd say, cooties.
Yeah. And he was clearly socially inept, and he had issues, and so the kids made fun of him, and I always felt bad about that. And then one day I took part in the teasing, and I felt bad about it immediately, and every time I think about it since then, I feel really terrible, and how I could have very easily befriended him or shown him some kindness. And I went along with the crowd. Yeah.
So it's I think we spoke about this earlier on another early episode we did of this about is it I can never say his name, Teilhard de Chardin.
Yep.
How is it, friend? He did studies, because he did archaeological stuff, and he did studies on this thing that you just described, where one person is scapegoated because that builds the tribe's strength. And he said, unless one is very on top of their game, they will tend to do that. Because it feeds something within the person, a sense of being part of a herd, a tribe, etc., and that gives them a sense of belonging and meaning. But of course, look where we are now. In this world.
What you describe is, I think, one of the most profound lessons in life that I think we could all benefit from really delving into, because I think we take part in these sort of gang estrangements. I don't know. Maybe that's not the right way to put it.
We even call it rituals. It's
yeah,
sort of rituals in a
yeah,
way.
yeah. And but we do it while we're watching the news. Oh, those people, those people, and we do it. We do it when we're in our little cliques. We have
Yep.
groups of people that we choose to associate with, and everybody else is kind of flawed, but not us.
Right. Yeah. It's
And
that high school, junior high mentality, and the
yeah,
junior high mentality
yes. Well, I
never
mean,
goes away.
I was in fifth grade. I mean, it was going strong in fifth grade. So, anyway, I think it's, so what's what's the psychic dynamic? I mean, I knew it was wrong to tease him. And I knew that I felt badly for him when I saw other people teasing him. And then that one time I just let myself get sucked into the crowd dynamic and participated in it. So what gets fed? What gets fed when we participate in that?
Well, fear. I mean, certainly. I don't want to be that. I want to be over here where the crowd is, or where I can get more, quote, believe I can get more support. And feel like I'm something, I'm a piece of a bigger whole. That's probably pretty hardwired in there. In this physical realm, of course, to be in that bigger whole that I just described, the click, we'll call it the click, doesn't necessarily mean that it's good, or that it's where the power of love exists. I'd say it probably isn't there. Why? How could it be if it was hurting someone?
Yeah.
So, but I think culturally we're kind of, trained is a word,
Conditioned.
conditioned to be on a team some way.
Well, and you see this in the
And
animal kingdom.
it's really crazy making, because on the other hand, we're also trained to be individual. I'm sorry.
It's part of you can see this all the
I'm
time in
sorry.
the animal kingdom. This is how they survive, by sticking together.
Right.
And you don't want to be outside of that circle
Right.
if you're an animal.
And if you align with the object of the odd girl out, or whatever, the odd girl, odd boy out, then you're going to be lonely. And because you forget, I think this is just for me, I know what I do, I'm forgetting the more important thing, that I want to align with God. I want to align with love, which is another word for God in my mind. And yet, I mean, I'm certainly better now than, I don't know that I have that all down perfectly, because I think I can be pulled into it, because it's very, within me from old days. But this not aligning with the mainstream is a lonely place. So you have to accept there's going to be loneliness, way more.
Well, it's a really good point to sort of deliberately say, I'm going to be, I'm not going to be popular if I take this position, and then negotiate it ahead of time when you're not, and instead of waiting till you're emotionally pulled into the gravity of the situation.
Right.
Really,
Right.
it's a really good point, sort of to go negotiate it ahead of time.
Yeah, that's probably true of many things.
And I think Jesus lived his life this way. I mean, everything he did was counterculture. Everything he did was against the establishment.
Yeah.
and
Yep.
he, the courage, I mean, the social courage that it took for him to do what he did every step of the way is mind-boggling for me. I couldn't, I mean, I'd have to sort of, slip away in the quiet. I just don't have that. But
Yeah. He did that going off by himself, which is, I'm sure, when he did this deep heart meditation and thinking about what's God telling me, what is God saying is the right thing here, or the thing that would be the most loving. And sometimes the most loving thing is not not the easiest thing.
right.
So, I mean, Jesus put his foot down too, remember, and that was in love.
Right.
So that's where I can get confused about, I think being a loving person means never disturbing anything. That's just not true.
That's right. Well, I mean, he was the ultimate disruptor.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'm just so in awe of the bravery that it took for him to do what he did.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to hold myself to that standard because I'm not the Christ, but and
Right.
never will be. But the example is just it's so it stirs my heart. It disrupts my assumptions, and it inspires me to the core.
Mm.
Uh,
Absolutely.
so yeah, I mean, I part of me wants to go find this guy Jim in my 5th grade class and tell him I'm sorry in a big way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think of, there's a lot of poverty in this world, and you don't have to look very far to find it. And
Mhm.
that is so disturbing for me, that the government is run in such a way that the masses of people who are doing their very best to get by are just left in the dust, with no support. It's just so that's
Yeah, it's a bugaboo.
a stress that I negotiate almost every day.
Yeah. And I think even when we're not thinking about all of the inequities in this culture and across the world, um, it's still preys on us.
Mm.
Preys. And Jung, I don't know a lot about Jung, but I know that he he spoke of this way of being, this yeah, checking out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not looking over there.
Yeah.
It's still alive in the collective unconscious. And in my sense of things currently, and I don't know if we spoke about this before, but I think we agree that the collective unconscious, the silent, deeper unconscious, is reverberating in such a way at this point in time that it's palpable almost. I mean, it's just a sense of everybody's worried,
and angry and stressed out and
yeah. All
uh,
shadows,
yeah,
all
and
shadows.
resentful. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That all the resources are going to the people who don't need them. And so I'm just going to switch a little bit, because this theme tends to get me, kind of on the road to nowhere.
yeah. I know. I hear you. Totally in agreement.
Yeah. So getting back to forgiveness,
Yes.
the thing that the event that sort of made me decide that I wanted to follow Jesus was when I was 16 and I saw this movie Ben-Hur, which I've talked about before, and it showed Jesus at the cross and saying, "Forgive them, Father, for they know what they do." And that was a life-changing, pivotal moment for me, to see that. And I decided that I wanted what he had. And ever since then, I've been wrestling with the idea of forgiveness because I don't really understand it. And I think what I connected with Jesus at that moment, the thing I connected with was to substitute the word understand. Father, understand them, for they know not what they do. So I think that the way I can deal with the word forgiveness is by substituting the word understand. You know, to open my heart, open my mind, um, um, put love where confusion or resentment or whatever is there, substitute love for that. And just understand, I mean, there's none of this like forgive and forget, none of this it shouldn't bother you anymore, none of this all these sort of, I think, misconceptions of forgiveness that many of us have. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yep, I'm sorry.
Is
Go ahead.
understanding, what do you think about that?
I agree with you. It's a little bit in the past, but for me, I'm feeling that the reason that all of us, many of us, most of us have difficulty forgiving in certain situations. I mean, maybe we can forgive one thing, this, but many times we can't. And I think we can't do it all the time, which is, I think, what you'd like to say, that I always forgive, that I see, I have a wider lens and I look at people differently and I always forgive. I'm going to say it. If we don't include ourselves, all bets are off. I don't believe one can do it without that. Now, I could be wrong, but that is my sense of forgiveness, unless it's complete and total with oneself, damages of the past. I just don't know that we can give it away. I'd like somebody to prove me wrong, because it feels as though that truth of feeling the truth for me does hurt in times when forgiveness is needed for someone else.
Yeah, so
I'm probably doing a comparison, like, well, yeah, that was worse than that thing I did. Yeah. Or yeah, there's something there. There's some measurement that's unconscious on the the grade, or the markings of things that one has done themselves. So I don't know. Talk to me about that.
Well, so I could say to myself, if I'm going to use the word understand, which is currently working for me, it may not be always, but if I could say to myself, I understand why you treated that person in an unkind way. You were swayed by the crowd, and that's very normal. And I think you've learned a lesson. I think you've gotten some wisdom from this. I think you've learned a lesson from it. And because I had a manager once who said, who used to say, what did you learn from this experience? And it was very, very helpful to look at the bad thing that happened to me
Right.
with what did you learn from it? And it was extremely
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah. I don't think that was what it's worth. I don't think that was ever said to me when I was a child.
Well, I mean, this was a manager in my job, so
Yeah, no,
I
I
don't
know.
think
I
it was
wasn't
said to
saying,
me either.
yeah, I only bring it up because I think that's important. I mean, if one doesn't, form that this way of having some acceptance and forgiveness around a wrongdoing, yeah, it's very foreign. It's very foreign. So, but you didn't, I was hoping that you would talk about the point I made around if we don't have it fully on board and have really gotta let ourselves off the hook for things that we've done that we're sorry we did, but we haven't understood it, which is a good point. We haven't understood why we did it. We haven't put it through that, that lens. What was going on? Why did you make that choice? Why did you, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and then being able to understand it and then move through forgiving it.
Well,
Why would we not be in the mix? Why would we not be included in the mix of forgiveness?
well,
You know,
I think we are. I mean, everybody's made from the same material. We all make mistakes, and we all need forgiveness, including ourselves, right?
right?
And we all are we are all offended by other people, and
Right.
so we are called to try to understand them and um, and find out what we learned from it.
I know, but
Um,
you're not keeping yourself in the circle. I'm asking you, Chris, have you forgiven yourself and are easily forgive other people? That's what I'm trying to get at. I mean, is that your experience? If it is, bravo. Maybe you can tell me how you did it. Um, that's what I'm trying to pull into
yeah,
this because
yeah. No, I
what
hear
we're
you.
yeah,
So I think this is a really good opportunity for me to do a long-term meditation on this question. Have I
okay.
forgiven myself? Because um, it feels very jumbled. Like when you ask that
Mhm.
question, I wasn't clear at all about um, my first um, response, which may change, is that um, why wouldn't why wouldn't I include myself with the rest of humanity um
Right.
in being knowing that I make mistakes and screw up on a regular basis. I mean, my what did Paul say? My sins are ever before me.
Mhm.
Um and that and that I was created that way. Okay, so the creator didn't make everyone in the world perfect except Chris. Okay, so um and perfection doesn't exist to begin with. So we're working within a framework of fallibility and brokenness.
Mhm. Mhm.
And but love can intercept this framework and work with it and kind of, weave through it. And um I think that we're called to love everyone, including ourselves. And so,
Right.
but we're not going to be in a state of love all the time. It's gonna it's
Okay.
gonna weave in and out of our day.
Why is that?
Um, well, because we got stuff to do, and we also we're doing it with other people. So there's going to be annoyance factor. There's going to be misunderstanding factor. There's going to be um there's
Are
going
you
to
are
be
you saying that? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, you go ahead.
No, I mean, just are you saying that we're human?
Yeah,
I think you're saying we're human.
yeah, I think I am. But we
Oh,
forget this because we have a culture that says we have to be perfect.
right.
And I think that people think that that is religiously based, which
Yeah,
I,
I
I
think they do too.
I do not agree with that. I do not, it might be in scripture somewhere, but I do not believe that it's theologically based. Um,
Right,
we are
right.
we are given oh, you're running out of time here. So
Okay, let me just say quickly. Um, There'll be some people and that I've heard this are saying that we are in another evolutionary leap, and that in fact, that is what we've always been striving for, is to live in love. And we have these human qualities that are base, and but the ongoing narrative that I'm beginning to hear here and there is that we are now evolving to that next state, which is to live in love. And Jesus' death wasn't for nothing. And I could maybe name a whole bunch of stuff that is what we've always been longing and hungering for, is to be free of this now we can't get rid of the shadow entirely, according to Jung, and that seems to make sense to me, like we'd just be one big blaring light. I guess that could be true. I guess that could be true, now that I think about it.
well, we
We all
all
go
have
into
the
the
light.
sun.
The
Right.
light appears periodically in all of us.
Totally. But the evolutionary story that is being told now is that is what we've been trying to do all along, is to be fully a light. Wow, this is too bad we had to end here, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think
Maybe
after
we'll continue. We'll
after
continue on
four
this.
4 billion years or however long humans have been on the earth, I think that nothing's really changed all that much in some ways. But let's do the next
Yeah,
telecompost on evolution.
evolution. According to Chris and Pat. Well,
Yeah,
stay tuned.
the evolution of light.
The evolution of light. But there has to be some darkness, because you don't know if it's the light when there's no dark. That's what we've been told. Okay. Anyway, food for thought.
Okay, my friend.
All right. Good
And
to see you, Chris.
until our next telecompost.
Indeed.